Hey guys, Riley here, or Lucid Analytics as you may know me, and today I'm going to be making my first video in a while. This is going to be regarding the how to simulate sports games on Excel video, and I can't thank you guys enough for how much support you guys gave me on there. I got a ton of questions from me, and yeah, lots of, I think hit 2.7k views, which is pretty cool for my first main tutorial, so I think I'll be doing more of those in the future. I know it's been a while. It's actually been since March 21st of last year, so it's been a bit since I made a video. Unfortunately, I just don't really have time with the schedule I'm on, and YouTube isn't really my main priority, but yeah, when I have the extra time, I kind of like making tutorials and stuff like that and teaching you guys stuff, so that you guys might want to know or haven't really learned before, or hadn't really had the time to go out and learn yourself. But yeah, so I think it's I guess something I'll pursue more in the future. But what I wanted to do today actually is answer a lot of your guys' questions regarding that video, even though it's been a while, and I got a good number of them, I'd say. So I'm going to go through, answer some questions, and then maybe just kind of talk a little bit at the end about what I plan to do in the future, or what kind of tutorials I guess we'll go with next. And the first question I'm actually going to go over will actually kind of I'll grace over that, about what the future holds for what tutorials I'll make yeah, in the future. So I'm not gonna I'll just get right into it here. And I have a question from, and I apologize if I butcher these names, but Liu Angyan, I think is the name. Sorry if I butchered that, and of course, even if you guys happen to miss this, I will go ahead and respond to these individually. Unfortunately, I just kind of, I wouldn't say disregarded YouTube, but just hadn't really made it a priority of mine over the last few months, so I haven't really taken the time to go back and actually answer these questions, but this is something I'll kind of pursue more in the future. But yeah, Liu Angyan, sorry if that's pronounced wrong, says, liked and subscribed, thank you. Do you know how to incorporate player stats too? You see the point table here, but is it possible to add players in this simulation and see the player stats after every game, and at the end, the players with the most goals, most assists, and so on? Can you make a video about that too if you have time? That would be really helpful, thanks. And conveniently enough, I actually do plan on making this my next video, which is incorporating player stats, and possibly going over simulating a whole season, and then you can kind of simulate one player's season and see maybe how many home runs they had for baseball, how many points per game they had for basketball, and kind of the gist of how I go about doing this is kind of using some regression formulas to actually determine, based on players' stats, or maybe let's say offensive ratings or average points, compared to the team that they're playing against is defense. How many, or defense or offense or whatever, how many points are we expecting them to score, how many steals, how many whatever rebounds, all this stuff. I'm going to be venturing into that kind of soon here, I think. I'm not sure, I can't really promise anything because, like I said, my schedule is kind of is not structured around YouTube whatsoever, and does not really include it. So it's not something I will kind of promise anytime soon, but hopefully sooner rather than later, maybe within the next few weeks, I'll get around to making this video. And yeah, I'd love to kind of go in depth into this, because I haven't really seen too much stuff like this on YouTube regarding player simulations, sports-based simulations. That's kind of why I made this one in the first place, to kind of give you guys an intro. Unfortunately, I just haven't really pursued anything after that yet. So yeah, hopefully that's something I get to pretty soon. But yeah, really interesting question, and I can tell you right now, it is very possible to incorporate player stats. And actually, what I do for the company I work at right now, it's called Clear Data Sports. It's a betting company. What I do there for my EPL model, which is soccer, I actually incorporate player ratings for every team. So what it takes into account, let's say you have a main team like Manchester City. If you guys are familiar with soccer, Manchester City, very strong team this season, currently second overall. If their best player is injured for a game, let's say Kevin De Bruyne, who was injured earlier this season, his player stats will be replaced with his replacement player stats, and that goes into the final model, and that will affect the final simulations, because theoretically their team will not be as strong without their best player, Kevin De Bruyne, and theoretically, the replacement player, the player replacing him, will be a little weaker, and will result in a different simulation, or a different result in the simulation. So that's kind of a key thing to think about there. But yeah, I can tell you right now, it's very possible to do that, and I will be pursuing that more in the future. Now, next question, and yeah, you'll kind of see these questions are from a long time ago. I just haven't really didn't really get around to answering them, honestly, but I'll try to answer them individually so you guys will actually see them if you guys happen to miss this video, like I said before. Now, Jesus says, nice video, mate. Was wondering if it would be possible to make a simulation that would count possible 1v1 game scores based on percentage on how likely a player would be to score a point. Let's say 70-30, and it would count like best of 5. Now, I think I kind of see what you're getting at here. 1v1 game outcomes. So I assume, now when it says how likely a player would be to score a point, I assume we're not talking basketball, but in terms of player simulations, I'll probably explore that, like I said, in the next video, so I'm probably just going to leave it at that, because I don't quite see what you're getting at here. Like, I think 1v1 game outcomes as in, like, I don't know, like tennis, maybe? Like, are you saying 1v1 players? I think that might be what you're trying to get into. I'll go over more about in that later, like I said, in the next video, I think. And another thing you can kind of get into is the isolated independent, well, I wouldn't say completely independent, but situations like you have golf or you have NASCAR. NASCAR isn't quite as independent as golf, but where you have each player is going through a tournament and they're not really affected by how another player is playing. So it's a whole other thing to get into that is way different from EPL, so soccer, or basketball, football, stuff like that, where each player's performances are affecting another player's performances. Where in golf, especially for example, each player is not affecting, I guess, another given player because they're all independent, I'd say. So, anyways, sorry I couldn't really quite answer that because I wasn't quite sure what you're getting at, honestly. But in terms of player stuff, I'll go over that in the next video. Now, Andrew Wilson says, this is just what I've been looking for. A tutorial from scratch would be excellent. Yeah, so I think the next video, that's what I'll try to do. I'll try to make it completely from scratch. And maybe I'll record myself making it, and I'll kind of go through it quickly, or I'll have it maybe go at like 1.5 speed or something like that, so you can kind of see how I built it, and then I'll explain it afterwards, because I think it would take a long time, because it does generally take a decent amount of time to make these sort of things. But if I can kind of get like the general, I guess, outer casings of a model together and then just fill everything in for you guys, I think that could be pretty helpful too. But yeah, thanks for the I guess the nice little message there, and I'm glad I was able to kind of give you some content that you were looking for. Ben Grot is actually one of my friends. Does this work for other NBA teams? Yeah, it does, and it works for every. I mean, you can do it for any sport pretty much. Simulations are very useful. You cannot. It's not even limited to sports. You can use it for weather. You can use it for obviously stock markets, stuff like that. It's very, very useful. And like I said, I'm going to be exploring a lot more of, I guess, paths you can take like this in the future. Opara says, this is a little more recent. Hi Riley, I just ran across this great stuff, man. Any more videos to come? I have my own filters to handicap sports, but something like this would work wonders to some of my systems. Looking forward to any other videos. Thank you and good luck. I appreciate the kind comments, and yes, more videos to come, like I said earlier. And yeah, handicapping is kind of my bread and butter. I wouldn't say bread and butter because I'm still pretty I guess young at this point and haven't really learned everything yet, and haven't even had higher education in terms of statistics yet. But yeah, I like to consider myself pretty competent with it. So yeah, handicapping is very fun, and even if you're not a bettor, I think it's it's a ton of fun just to see, like, just to simulating the EPL for fun, or simulating your favorite sport season for fun, just because, I don't know, like if that's what you like to do, like me personally, I think it's pretty fun, even if you're not making money off it or anything like that. Kind of confused on how the what if analysis works. Cool though. I'm not quite sure what you'd be referring to here. I think he might possibly referring to the data table. I'm not 100% sure what this one is. This is from Joe Bond. So I'll maybe reply to you. I think I'll just reply to you individually there. Moving on to James Crawford from a month ago, great video. But how would you include odds of the game into the simulator? Well, let's see. So in terms of odds, I would not intake. I wouldn't intake like market odds at all when simulating. I would, I go strictly off of like simulations right here, like I did this video based on. It's based on. I did this based on average points. Now, if I was actually going to make a simulation model, I would be much more comprehensive than this. I would take into account lots of other things, like for my college basketball model, which is another thing I work on at Clear Data Sports. I have stuff like not just average points, but you also have like how many 2 points are you converting per game, how many 3-pointers, how many free throws, stuff like that, and also like the tempo of the game, so like how fast, how many possessions are going to be in the game, stuff like that. So it's not just limited to average points. But in terms of odds, I do not include that whatsoever. What I would do is, take this simulated game and compare the odds from this game to the market, and where you find value, that's generally what you want to bet on. So that's kind of how we do our betting and make our plays at Clear Data Sports. Moving on from that one, Robert from 9 months ago says, "This is great. I'm in a simulator predicting fantasy points in DraftKings." That's another thing that you can do. Fantasy is brilliant. Like if you are a heavy fantasy player, I definitely recommend learning simulations, because this is exactly how you kind of get the edge over your league. If you're really into it. I'd love to email and see what you can come up with in collaboration. This is from 9 months ago, so unfortunately, I don't know. I can still reach out to you. I'll make sure to comment individually on this one, Robert, if you're watching later. But yeah, so fantasy, like I said, yeah, very, very useful for that, simulations. Any chance you have the Excel file from this video? Thanks, and thanks, great video. I appreciate the kind comments, Connor Corey. I can put this in the description, I believe. I'm not actually sure if I can do that or not. I'll look into that. But otherwise, yeah, thank you for the compliments there. And I do have the Excel file. It's from a while ago now, but I'll try to put it in the description for you, and yeah, I'll give you a little notification about that if I can. Can I pay you to give me simulations of games? Now that's exactly what we do at Clear Data Sports. So I will in fact drop the little. I'll drop the web page about which will give you kind of instructions how to subscribe, and you can subscribe to that if you're interested. And I'm not really going to make this a promotional video for that at all, so I will reach out to you personally. But if you guys are interested in actually paying me to get simulations, which is not really what this video is, I guess. I was more looking at for people that want to learn simulations. But but if you want to pay, or you're interested in getting simulations sent to you. We do have a ton of sports at Clear Data Sports that we have models on, including NFL, which is about to end right now. Then we have soccer, which is still ongoing. Baseball about to start up. College basketball going on right now. So yeah, we have a ton of good stuff going on over there, and I can kind of reach out to you. I'll drop the webpage link in this little comment here, but thank you for reaching out to me anyways. Griffin Joan again says, "Great video, help me start my first basic model." See, this is exactly what I was kind of intending. So for people that hadn't really learned before, or, like I said, hadn't had time to take a course on it, there's not many videos on sports related stuff, like I said, on Excel. So if you're looking for a more sports perspective on simulations, sports-based perspective anyways, this is, I think, I really try to kind of cater to that point of view. So I'm very glad to hear that, Griffin, and I'm really glad I can help, honestly. So yeah, that's what I hope to do in the videos to come. Moving on, M. Wallace says, "What standard deviation to use for the soccer simulator?" That's a good question. So the way I do norm inverse is, norm inverse returns a normally distributed probability based on a randomly generated number, and that standard deviation will then kind of decide, which number is it going to return. So, for example, if you use for soccer, I generally use 1, and for one standard deviation, 68% of all values fall, or in general, 68% is the widely accepted number of values that fall within that one standard deviation. So I use a standard deviation of 1 goal, because I generally don't think, what I like to do is I like to expect that our simulated, or our projected goal tally, which will serve as that mean, it's not going to deviate more than 1 for 68% of the time. It's not gonna, like I said, most of the time, pretty much. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's not really going to deviate from that more than a goal. So I use 1, but it depends on, I guess, your confidence level in your own projected total of goals. Or in this situation, I can't actually remember what I used for. Actually, it says it right here. I used 15 points, and I mean, NBA. I haven't really worked with NBA much. I was just kind of exploring it here just for the sake of this video. But yeah, so for soccer, I used 1. I've kind of experimented with that a lot, though. I've used anywhere between 0.75 and 1.25 with good results. Moving on. Dylan Kramer says, "I'm only seeing this video on your profile. Do you have more?" I will have more in the future. I've posted a few other things, I think. I'm not sure if they're private or not right now, but they mostly have to do with expected goals stuff. I haven't really been doing too much with that lately, and that's not going to be something I'm really venturing into more. But yeah, I will have more videos coming up soon. And yeah, thank you for reaching out. Luke Corcoran says, "This is amazing. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment there." and I'm glad, because this is my first YouTube video, and at the time I wasn't really used to, and this is actually before, so for Clear to Sports I also make podcasts, so I've gotten a little more used to, talking in front of a cam or a mic or whatever, talking to people over like that on like a live, feed of recording, or like a live recording session. So I've gotten a little bit more comfortable. As you can tell, though, I'm not perfect, obviously, even just based on me now. So I thank you for that. Thank you for the compliment. This is my very first one that I really put time into and put time and effort into. So I'm glad that kind of turned out well, and I'm glad people, at least some people, took some use out of it. How would you sue this for golf, for example? I'm not sure what sue means in that context there, but for golf, actually, I was talking about golf would actually be really, really easy, and the reason being is because everything's independent, so you do not need to adjust based on the opponents. So each singular golfer is only going to be playing, it's not going to be adjusted. Their score is going to be adjusted by how well their opponents are playing. Their score will be their score. So if you could come up with a rating, and actually this is something I'm working on at Clear to Sports now as well. I'm kind of venturing into the golf sector, PGA specifically. And so what you can do with golf is you can just come up with your own ratings and then simulate a tournament based off those ratings, and you can easily, just with this method here, come up with some final simulations for a tournament. And what you can do is you can adjust based off of like the course and stuff like that. So golf would be pretty easy, actually, and maybe that'll be something I get into in the future. How would you do a baseball game matchup? Let's see. So Stormy Boyd, thank you or Storm Boyd, not Stormy. Factoring in each team's starting pitcher statistics, team hitting stats, etc. Actually working on a baseball-specific model now. Would you be interested in another tutorial like this? So I asked this at a time, unfortunately, when I was kind of looking into more YouTube, but actually when I made this video, I had not been hired by Clear to Sports yet, was not working on a full-time job, and I was still kind of, I'm still in high school, but I was focusing more on school, but then I figured that, this could be another nice little outlet. But now that I've been working, it's not full-time, but it's taking a lot of my time up, and unfortunately after this I realized I just don't have time. But I was working on a baseball-specific model at the time. I actually finished it up, but I scrapped it. I just kind of made it for fun, just to see what the results would be at this point in time. And actually that model turned out really, really interesting, because what I did was I took the individual player route, where I was simulating games just based on the player starting, which is pretty cool. But I can maybe even link that model to, I'm not sure about that. So when I did say that I would make another tutorial, or I said, would you be interested? In terms of baseball, unfortunately, that's going to be something now reserved for Clear to Sports, because I'm going to be helping another team member of mine on their model for baseball, so it's not going to be something I'm going to be really revealing to the public, because it is a subscription-based company. So I can drop the link for that, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think it's what you're interested in, though. I think you really want to learn. And he says in the second comment, Stormboard says, or he or she says, I have been wanting to do a baseball simulation given any matchup. I just don't know how to create a model and putting baseball analytics metrics that are most reliable in predicting outcomes and percentage. So that's another thing. You do really want to pinpoint the most predictive variables in your model, and that's, I guess, when I first created the EPL model, which had been last summer, that's the main thing I really focused on for a while, was pinpointing which statistics are most predictive of a final result. And using some linear regression, stuff like that, we can then turn those statistics, whatever they are, into goals. And that's what I did for a while. I used 538 team ratings. Those have been phased out. They've been weighted at 0 for a little bit now, but previously they had been a pretty big weight in our model. So in terms of variables and predictability, that's something you really want to focus in on. If you simulate it, say, 50,000 times, the outcome number will be very reliable. I'm just getting into this, but glad you've done this video. Really looking forward to the MLB one. Yeah, so unfortunately I was not able to do the MLB one, and I hate to promise things. I hate to promise things without coming through. Unfortunately, I ran out of time in that regard. But in the future, yeah, MLB could be something I kind of talk about a little more. And the thing is about simulations, like I said, like in sports, like team sports, you can kind of really separate it into sectors. You can separate it into like the individuals, like golf, NASCAR, for example. NASCAR is a little less independent. And then into team sports like baseball, and even baseball is a little different because baseball, each play is really isolated from the rest, where soccer, everything's flowing, everything's ongoing, or same for basketball. So, baseball, you pitcher batter every time. If you can simulate, how each, pitcher batter scenario is going to, come out or result, then yeah, you can get a really good simulation model in there. And then Alibob's Marland comments under this saying, love to see some football tutorials as I'm trying to do my own, but I'm a beginner in Excel. So that's another thing I could get into. But like I said, like even if I don't end up going through with football or baseball specifically, you can kind of take what I'm doing with whatever sport I choose to do next and apply it to your own. And that's kind of what I did for mine originally. I made a World Cup simulation model last summer, and that was something I invested a lot of time into. And what I did is actually I created the, like I said, like the basis of the model based off an NCAA one, which I saw a little article on, and he happened to plug his spreadsheet in the article, so I got to see what's his methodology by doing this, and how do you simulate a tournament. And that's another thing. I was actually very close to doing a video, would have been like a month or so ago, on tournament simulations, which is different than just single game simulations, but I decided I kind of ran out of time again, so it could be another thing I get into in the future, but another thing I'll be working on very soon. Actually, I just did this pretty recently as well. Champions League, if you're familiar with soccer and you follow it, you will know what Champions League is. The knockout stage will be starting up in February, so one thing I had to do was create a knockout stage simulation for the soccer model. And so that's something I did recently. I created my second tournament simulation. First one was the World Cup. So yeah, it's very, very likely that I'll be doing one for NCAA. And I could do one just for the heck of it and make a video out of it and maybe kind of explain what exactly I do and my methodology between it. Because like I said, I learned a lot of this stuff from other people. I learned it online. Did not learn any of this from school. This is not something they teach in high school curriculum. And so I hope to learn more in college and hope to be, become a little more well versed anyways when it comes to this sort of stuff, because I'm trying to teach it to you guys, but at the same time it's like still relatively inexperienced and self-taught, so there's still things I'm missing out on, or possible ways I can make these models even more predictive that I maybe am missing on, like I said, because I haven't had higher education yet. So so something to be excited for in the future, I guess. But I think this video is a nice little kickoff. I'm glad I got to answer your questions finally, and I'll spend some time responding to the ones I pointed out as well. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching again. I'm not sure how long this one's going to turn out to be. It might be a longer one again. I remember saying like the last one was going to take like 10 minutes, ended up taking 19, so that's kind of my, my trademark, saying that videos are going to, take a lot less time than they are, because I like to talk a lot. But anyway, so if you guys enjoyed this video, I will be back pretty soon, hopefully, for another simulation video. I'll let you guys know, and I will comment on the people who took the time out of their day to comment on my video. And unfortunately, I was not able to take the time out of mine to respond, which is kind of rude of me, but I kind of figured this would be a good way to make up for that. So anyways, see you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and I will hope to be back with another video soon. See you then.